Amendment by Reynolds.
Chair recognizes Mr. Reynolds to explain the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, this bill will have an enormous impact on our economy if passed. It will hurt our real estate transactions, investments, jobs, and have negative adverse impacts that will harm our business environment that Texas has been proud to build. Yet as written, this bill makes no effort to track those consequences. Members, this amendment is simple that requires the comptroller to publish an annual detailing the economic impact of this law. It is a basic call for transparency and accountability. Every Texan deserves the right to know the price we will pay for these sweeping restrictions. We have a simple choice here. You can vote against this amendment if you rather remain ignorant and blind to the potential harm this bill could inflict upon our great Texas economy, or we can choose transparency and vote this amendment to show your commitment to fiscal responsibility and understanding the real impact that this law will have on our Texas economy. I move adoption.
Mr. Speaker.
Ms. Goodwin, for what purpose?
Will the gentleman yield for some
Would
questions?
you yield, Mr.
Yes,
Reynolds?
I'll yield for questions.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you, Representative Reynolds. Did you know that Asian households in the United States have a median net worth of over $500,000, higher than any other racial group, yet also experience the greatest wealth inequality?
Yes, Representative Goodwin. I represent Fort Bend County. We have a large percentage of Asian Americans. I have a large number of Asian constituents, and yes, I was aware of that.
Are you aware that Asian and Pacific Islander households in Texas contributed more than $14.9 billion in federal taxes and $5.7 billion in state and local taxes in 2023 alone?
No, but that sounds about right. Thank you for sharing that information.
Did you know that API households in Texas collectively held over $226 billion in property value, making up 8.6% of all owner-occupied homes in the state?
I have heard something similar to that. Thank you for sharing.
Are you aware that Chinese origin households in Texas alone paid over $1.5 billion in combined federal and state taxes and held $30.6 billion in property value in 2023?
No, I wasn't advised about that.
Did you know how many, or do you know how many Chinese origin residents in Texas are U.S. citizens or naturalized immigrants? And how many are eligible voters and contribute actively to our democracy?
No, I would love to know that.
712,000 naturalized API citizens and 1.1 million eligible voters in 2023. Did you know that nearly 90,000 API immigrants in Texas are entrepreneurs, employing and generating local revenue across our state in 2023?
Representative Goodwin, I was aware that there's a large number of Asian Americans and Asians that are small business owners, that are the economic engines that drive our economy. Many are successful entrepreneurs, greatly contributing to our robust Texas economy, but I was not aware of those statistics. Mr. Boo.
Are you aware that in the Houston metro area alone, AAPI households held over $76 billion in property value and paid more than $1.2 billion in rent, representing over 11% of the entire region's property holdings?
I wasn't aware of those exact statistics, but I do know that the number was large, but you just really brought it home of why we should have an economic fiscal impact from our comptroller. So those numbers don't surprise me.
Are you aware that AAPI Texans earned over $100 billion in 2023 and kept more than $73 billion in spending power circulating through our local economies?
I was not, but that's very impressive.
And are you concerned that this legislation will hinder AAPI Texans' ability to support their families and contribute to our economy?
Absolutely. I'm very concerned and I'm very disappointed that we're even debating Senate Bill 17. I think this is a solution in search of a problem.
Do you believe AAPI immigrants demonstrate a commitment to and strong connection with the state of Texas?
Absolutely. We are a nation of immigrants, and many of these immigrants come here seeking the American dream. Many of them make significant contributions to our economy, to all facets. Many, like our colleague Representative Hubert Vo, who have made significant economic contributions. So absolutely.
How do we justify targeting foreign nationals in this bill when over 80% of AAPI immigrants in Texas have lived here for more than 5 years, and the majority are either U.S. citizens or on legal immigration pathways?
Well, Representative Goodwin, that begs the question. I think that this is unnecessary and unjustified. I don't think this bill is something that we should be focusing our resources on in Texas. We should be embracing our diversity. Our diversity is our strength. Texas is among the most diverse states in the entire United States of America. Based on the 2020 census, 90% of the growth was based on minorities. And the fastest growing population was Asian Americans. And so we should be embracing our Asian American brothers and sisters, and that is why I filed this amendment so that our comptroller could track and we could have accountability regarding fiscal responsibility and the potential negative economic impact that this will have on our Texas economy. We've already heard it before. Our economy is something we're proud of. We've had one of the fastest growing economies in the United States of America. We're the 8th largest economy in the world. But what we're doing here, we're gonna probably, more than likely, I'm no economist, but we're gonna lose significant revenue from our state. As Representative Barbara Gervin Hawkins stated earlier, based on athletes, we're gonna lose based on real estate transactions and so much more. Jobs, you name it. This is gonna have a negative fiscal economic impact. For all those fiscal conservatives, this is a bad bill for this state.
I agree with you, Representative, and I appreciate your amendment, which would make this at least allow us some transparency and to understand the impact through the study that the controller would do. So I hope that the author of this bill will accept your amendment.
Thank you, Representative Goodwin.
Mr. Speaker,
Ms. Gervin Hawkins, for
will the
what
gentleman yield
purpose?
for questions?
Would you yield, Mr.
I
Reynolds?
would gladly yield to
He
Madam
will, Ms.
Chair.
Gervin Hawkins, go ahead.
So, Representative Reynolds, when we talk about the economic impact, because I think that's so important, you know, right now Texas sits on, we'll call it a reserve, a surplus, right?
Absolutely.
So when we combine all the efforts we're doing, i.e. the tax exemption, okay, when we combine all the things that we're doing to help people, now we're saying we're going to destroy some of our economy through our foreign folks that are here making money. Would you agree that that's happening?
Absolutely, that's what's happening.
And so when we look at how we move forward and your amendment, talk to us a little bit about what your amendment does and how it can help that and strengthen this bill.
Well, I don't know if the author of this bill, I accept the premise that they have a genuine concern that they're trying to address. I don't think anybody in this chamber wants to have a negative fiscal impact on our economy, right? So that we can keep our Texas miracle growing, right? And so this amendment would allow the comptroller to give us an annual report and track how this amendment is impacting our state's economy. So then, if there were unintended consequences, we could come back the next legislative session, we could look at it during the interim and make changes during the 90th legislative session. So that's what this amendment does. This is about accountability, transparency, so that we understand. Right now, we're speculating. We don't know what kind of fiscal impact that this is going to have on our economy, but this would allow the comptroller to give us that data and crunch those numbers so that we can make informed decisions on how we wanted to maybe tweak this bill.
The gentleman's time has expired.
Mr. Speaker, can I ask for an extension?
Is there any objection to the extension of time? There is an objection. Members, vote aye, vote no on the extension. If you're in favor of the extension, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote no. This is a record vote. The clerk will ring the bell. Vote aye if you're in favor of the extension, vote no if you're not. There being 73 ayes, 67 nays, the motion for extension passes.
Thank you so much, colleagues. This is such an important issue. We want to be serious about this. Think about it. When our economy is impacted, that's going to impact our educational system. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. Our economy impacts everything. The way that we protect, build roads and bridges, for infrastructure, for education, for healthcare, it impacts every facet of our day-to-day living in this state. And I would add that when you're fiscally conservative, then you want to know the fiscal impact of a bill that could potentially harm our great Texas economy.
Right, and if we don't have the money to put in our schools, think about it. You know, Representative, one of the things I think is so important that our colleagues need to understand, everything we do has impact on generations to come.
Absolutely.
When we got rid of vocational training in schools, it hurt what? Our construction industry, didn't it?
It absolutely did.
Okay, somebody came up with an idea to say everybody's going to go to college and we don't need blue-collar workers, and it destroyed our industry, right?
Absolutely.
This is a similar situation when we're looking at and not knowing
That's
the
correct.
numbers, the dollars that are
That's correct.
impacted. We're now talking about not having enough money to continue to give our schools for inflation
That's correct.
and for other things that they may need.
Absolutely, Representative. And that is why this amendment simply is about transparency and accountability. How can we not want to know? We don't want to have willful ignorance, right? We don't want to be blind and say, well, I don't want to know. All of us should want to know so that we can make informed, intelligent decisions to protect our great Texas economy. And obviously, this is going to have an economic impact on jobs. You're talking about real estate and real estate investment, commercial, residential. It will have a substantial potential impact, and I think all of us should know that so that we can make better informed, prudent, economic, fiscally sound decisions.
Yes, Representative Reynolds, one of the things I think as our colleagues understand that when we know the answer to some of these unanswerable questions right now, we can make the best decision possible. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. We have a fiduciary duty as state representatives on behalf of our constituents to understand the fiscal impact that it will have on our Texas economy. We're not making decisions just for each and every one of us. We're making them for nearly 200,000 constituents that each one of us represents in our districts, businesses, small business owners, entrepreneurs. We need to know, and we need to make the best decisions so that we can continue to make great decisions for all stakeholders.
And you know what? I'm glad you say all stakeholders, because our universities,
Yes.
which was shared earlier, are going to be majorly impacted when they don't have those research scientists.
Absolutely,
Okay.
no question about it.
And your transparency bill or amendment allows us to understand that if we get rid of that talent and we get rid of those resources and potentially those students, my God, it could be horrible. Would you agree?
Absolutely, and I would add that I believe that the comptroller they have the resources internally to be able to do this data, and so this would be another function of their office. So why wouldn't we want to support this amendment to allow the comptroller to produce this data so that when we come back and after, hopefully this bill doesn't pass, but assuming it is passed, that we could then have the comptroller as part of their annual reporting to give this data to us.
And you know, Representative Reynolds, as you were saying that, because knowledge is power, I'm a big believer of that, right?
You're a small business owner, of course, you understand.
I do, and knowing the facts help us today and into the future. And you know, when I brought up the fact it hurts generations to come, we're talking about now, without having your amendment on there, with that transparency amendment, impacting almost every part of our society. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
And so when we talk about housing, and when we talk about education, when we talk about not having the small businesses that do exist that we enjoy, okay, we're talking a major, major impact that we have to be able to study first. Wouldn't you agree?
I agree, because not only will it impact those directly, but it's going to impact directly, indirectly, other small businesses, because these people that we're going to be barring from making these investments, they're not going to be purchasing goods and services and other commodities as well. So that is why it's so important that we have our comptroller to do this fiscal reporting so that we understand the total impact and the gravity of this proposed legislation.
I think you've got a great amendment. And you know what I want to reference? My colleagues here gave us a extension of time so they could understand this amendment a little better and possibly this bill. Would you agree?
Absolutely, Representative.
And do you think we've changed any hearts and minds at all?
I certainly hope so. We'll know pretty soon when we have a record vote.
And so when we're part of a common sense caucus, it really helps us make those best decisions. Would you agree with that?
I would agree, Representative, that you and I, based on this conversation, are fiscally conservative. And I know many of our colleagues in this room are very conservative. So if they're conservative, especially fiscally conservative, there's no reason why they won't support this transparency amendment.
So transparency, knowing the numbers, and planning for our future is key. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Representative Reynolds. Let's vote yes on this amendment.
Thank you. I move adoption.
Chair recognizes Mr. Hefner against the amendment.
Thank you. I don't think we need to put a price on the safety of our Texans. I move to table.
Chair recognizes Mr. Reynolds to close.
Members, this is a simple amendment. Even if you're in favor of the bill, this amendment only enhances the bill. I ask you to vote against the motion to table. Vote 2.
Members, the record vote's been requested. A record vote is granted. If you're in favor of the motion to table, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. It's a record vote. The clerk will ring the bell. Show Mr. Hunter voting aye, Ms. Weiner voting no. Have all members voted? Being 84 ayes, 55 nays, the motion to table passes.